Good morning, America. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here, Sunday morning. What's going on in the Ukraine, Russia? Well, we have with us Dr. Bill Parker, 37 years in the Navy, retired from as CEO of the East-West Institute. Dr. Parker, what the heck is going on? I mean, nobody's really sure. There's all kinds of rumors. What say you about what's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, when you look back, this is a sad event. Go back to January 14th of 1994, and you had President Clinton, you had President Boris Yeltsin, and you had their Ukrainian counterpart at the Kremlin, and they signed the nuclear disarmament agreement. In that agreement, the Ukrainians gave up about 1,800 nuclear weapons. They were the third largest nuclear country at the time. And for that, they were given the pledge that no one would attack the Ukrainian sovereign territory, and the Russians and the United States agreed that that wouldn't happen. That is an absolute disaster that we're allowing this to happen now. Understand they are not part of NATO right now and do not fall under our Article 5 requirements, but there was an expectation that they gave up those nuclear weapons, they would not be attacked, and that's clearly not what's happening. I think you will find in history, as we go back and look at this 10, 15 years from now, when we say, how did nuclear proliferation go global? I think the starting point will be now, when people look back on this thing and say, this was the point where countries were no longer comfortable with not being nuclear.
And the other thing the American people have learned recently, and I don't think anybody realized, that Chernobyl is in the Ukraine.
Absolutely, Chernobyl's in the Ukraine, and that's a major deal. Another major part of this is that the Russians clearly wanted access to land and fertile land because there are major food resources and access into the waterways there. So there were several reasons financially that they thought it might be a good idea. But the reality is Russia will suffer. The global economy will suffer for a while, but the Russian people and the Ukrainians in particular are going to take this on the chin. And we look pretty weak. We look weak as a nation after how we left Afghanistan, after crawling back to the JCPOA table with the Iran deal, and after many other issues that we've seen over the last 12 months or so, to include a very weak border right now, southern border.
You've been in the Navy 37 years. You ran the East-West Institute for a long time, and you always tried to have peace. What are our chances now? I mean, my personal opinion is I don't think Putin really wants an all-out war. How do we? He just wants assurance that we're not. The United States is not going to put missiles in there, and he wants assurance that we're not going to attach it as a NATO country.
First of all, I think the chance to stop conflict was about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, when we realized that it was very clear that Russia was building up and putting a very large percentage of their armed forces on the border and were likely to roll into Russia. And you and I had talked about this on the show before, that we expected this would happen. That was the opportunity to bring Ukraine into NATO. Had we done it then, we would have said, okay, Vlad, understand what your intentions are, but now they're a NATO ally. Do not cross that border. And I that would have prevented this with some very strong action by the United States and NATO writ large. Additionally, I am concerned that we could end up with the same situation in Afghanistan, where we have a large number of our American-made, American-paid-for equipment, ammunition, ordnance, et cetera, that ends up in the hands of a potential enemy, just like we did in Afghanistan.
Well, that's a scary thought. We gave how many billions of equipment in Afghanistan? The Chinese came down and says, thank you. And if we put in equipment into Ukraine, you're saying the possibilities are that Russia will complete their mission and say, thank you.
Well, that's exactly right. And it's not just remember, it was not just China and Afghanistan, but much of the high-tech equipment rolled across the border into Iran, even before we had all our people out. Now, I mean, we still don't have all our people out, but before we had the preponderance of them out.
Now, I mean, you've been around for a long time. Germany is getting half their power, natural gas, coal, oil, etc., from Putin. And Turkey is buying a lot from Putin, too. They don't want war against Putin. I mean, has Putin succeeded through the business transactions in splitting up NATO, even though they're making believe they're on our side?
I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, nobody wants to see Putin roll through Europe like we saw Hitler roll through Europe many decades ago. So I don't think so. But I think this is a time for the United States to go back and look again at our independence, not only our energy independence, but also how things are made. I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to start building micro facilities again in local towns, so that you have local towns that are building and making things that right now we're buying overseas. If we haven't learned that lesson from the debacle of the logistics issues that we have, if you look out off the coast of Los Angeles with all the ships sitting out there and everything, we wouldn't have those issues if things were made in the United States. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't import, and we should certainly export, but we are way too reliant on exports right now. And this is an opportunity to transition into American-made products and American facilities here across the United States.
And probably develop our own energy even further.
Well, not only develop our own energy further, but think about this, Mr. Catsimatidis. You have a lot of people right now that are saying greenhouse gas emissions are a major problem, and I agree with that. They are. Climate change is a real issue. What better way to solve that than to not have to fly things from halfway around the globe, but actually have them made right here locally?
I think you're correct. Dr. Bill Parker, thank you so much for everything you've done for our country, and continue to speak out for our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.